Alright, hello. Back with another video. This time we are moving on to the rares. So with the mythics, I went out of my way to say the correct name. I think I'm just going to skip that for the rares because there's so many more of them and I don't want to spend too much time trying to mix and match the names. You're just going to have to figure it out on your own. But like I said before, I assume primarily people are going to be engaging with this online first anyway. So I assume the majority of the people are going to want the digital versions, and you can navigate it and figure it out on your own. Feel free to give Wizards of the Coast your feedback on how you feel about it. But yeah, starting with white again, we have a Demi, which appears to be a literal Spider-Man. So that's great to see. Falling out of the sky, it is a 2-mana 3/2 flash, so decent stat line already. You can pay 1, it gains flying, it can have evasion. That's obviously very relevant, especially for a 2-drop with 3 power. That's pretty nice. And then you can pay 1, sacrifice it, creatures you control gain hexproof and indestructible. So the rate on this actually looks pretty good. It's got a lot of nice things going on. It plays well in a No More Lies deck. And then it insulates you against sweepers, so both of those things are very appealing. It does work decently with Agatha's Soul Cauldron, but I don't think it's good enough to end up having a slot in any deck playing that card. But all in all, strong card. I could see this scene play as far back as Pioneer because it's a human with a really nice text box. It's kind of like a selfless spirit where you have to use mana, but I think that's fine because it has flash, which is a very big deal. So I think that compensates for the mana that it eats up. Good card. I think this will probably see play. It's legendary, so maybe you won't see it in high numbers, but I do think it is probably at least playable in Pioneer humans, and I wouldn't be surprised if this saw, various amounts of play in Standard. Next, we have Chosen by Valgavoth. So I guess the lore of this set is just everything. It's just generic magic. It's not like a plane, which I think makes sense. Sure. I mean, if you have to do something like this, you may as well use all the different spots in Magic. So you get 4 mana. Enchant creature you control gets +2/+2 for each aura and equipment attached to it. All damage that would be dealt to you is instead dealt to this creature. So if you can put this on a thing with big enough toughness, it becomes harder for your opponent to kill you. You get to keep fogging them, and then maybe even if they have a turn where they kind of pop the bubble and do enough damage that you have to sacrifice the creature, that's still gonna save you a bunch of life. So maybe this card ends up being good. There's like a 2-mana might be an 08 actually. So you can make yourself a 2/10 that is very good at absorbing damage. That could actually be pretty reasonable against the red decks, but I think Sunspine Link says damage can't be prevented. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think this card is particularly competitive, but if you told me there was some deck trying to do some cheese sideboard plan versus red that involved this card, I wouldn't be that surprised. Next, we have Confessor's Bindings. I think this is it's called Rent is Due. I'll try to call it the ones that I know off the top, but it's not going to be that many things, unfortunately. I'm pretty bad with names. So this is 1-mana enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, you may tap 2 untapped creatures and or treasures. If you do draw a card, otherwise sacrifice this enchantment. So you're forced to tap the things, otherwise you lose the enchantment, but you do get to draw cards. I don't know how good this card is, but it is relatively appealing to me. Maybe it's a sideboard card. It's also something you can just tutor for off of your Gear Hulk. You're going to have random, cheap things in your Gear Hulk decks to be able to tutor anyway. And this can kind of occupy a similar space as Warden of the Inner Skies, where instead of buffing up your Warden and Scrying, you're just drawing cards. That being said, is this better than just getting a Warden and killing your opponent? I don't think so, but if you're playing against a control deck, you could maybe side deck this in. If you just get some extra permanents lying around, then you just get to draw cards, and you don't have to worry about things like Wrath of God effects, Day of Judgment. Next is a Most Helpful Weaver. I think this is a Spiderman saga. I couldn't tell you the name of it, but 2 mana. Chapter 1, you get a 2/1 reach. Sure. Chapter 2, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control, becomes a legendary spider hero in addition to its other types. Sure. So you get 2 spiders, basically, right? If you could play a 1-drop, you can play this on 2, you get a spider, and then you can make your 1-drop a spider. So if you want to play like a spider tribal deck, this can help enable that. Probably going to be important for limited, honestly. And then target creature you control gains double strike. So if there's anything Manifold Mouse has taught us, it's that double strike is very strong. This doesn't I mean, it does play decently with Valiant, but a lot of the busted Valiant cards got banned. Excuse me. But yeah, this does things. 2 mana is not that much mana for how much you get. Like, if you think about, you get a 2/1 and a 1/1 counter, so that's like 3/2 stats. And even if I mean, double strike is worth more than a 1/1 counter on average. But you're kind of getting like 4/3-ish stats. I mean, you can interpret whatever the stats you want, whatever way you want to interpret the stats. But you get a lot of stuff. And double strike is pretty strong, and there's going to be spots where you can just murder your opponent. The problem is that it's on a saga, right? You don't get to choose when the double strike happens, which is one of the issues, because there's sort of windows with double strike where if your opponent puts shields down, or if you have a read that your opponent doesn't have good interaction, you can punish them by just killing them with your double strike card. That's going to be difficult to pull off, but if you do just go like 1-drop this, like imagine this was something like an Adeline on curve, right, where you're just playing the Adeline, attacking, getting the tokens, it's really big. The next turn you can just double strike it, and if they can't stop it, they're going to die. So, decent card. I would not be surprised if this card was good, but in the current environment, there's a lot of bounce spells. I'm not 100% about this one. I don't think it makes the cut, maybe in the future. Next, we have Remarkable Readings. Okay, 4 mana enchant land. When this aura enters, create 3/1/1 white humans. And then the land has pay 1 and tap it. Target creature you control gets +1/+1 for each creature you control. Activate only as a sorcery. So this is a weird card. It's like a hop to it, but then you turn your land into a big pump spell. I don't like pop to it. Doesn't see that much play. Like Hordeling Outburst type things. It's decent with Regal Bunnycorn. You do get 4 permanents. This is tutorable by anything that can tutor an aura, so that's kind of cute. Like the effect the land has is nice, but like there's plenty of cards like this have existed, and they all have the same problem, which is like you're playing a token deck. The whole point is to go wide and get benefits for that, and like you need your tokens plus your payoff, and then if you ever get sweepered, if your opponent ever has a good way of interacting with tokens, it's very difficult to actually win the game. There's plenty of good sweepers in the format. I think this is kind of slow. It's sort of like token plus Anthem buffing stuff, sort of like old school Magic at this point, unfortunately. But maybe this can fit into like Elspeth decks and like mono white mid-range. I don't know. I'm not overly optimistic, but it's a cool card. It could be decent. Having this text box on a land is pretty strong, especially with lifelink. Like maybe you're playing these carrot cake decks and you occasionally get a lifelinker into play, like the saddle one that tutors planes, and then you just get to start activating this, and all of a sudden it's like a Baneslayer Angel instead of a 2/3. So cool card. I really like this design a lot. I wouldn't hold your breath. It does make humans, so take note of that. Next, we have Yira and Oski. This is one of the Spiderman cards. I don't know the name of it, but we have Inweb or Web Sling, I think is the paper name. So 3 mana 3/3. When it enters, you get to look at your opponent's hand, choose a card name other than creature. It's worded weird. Spells of the chosen type cost 1 more to cast. So what is this? This is like, it's like a duress sort of thingy. Oh, excuse me. Okay, so it's a card type. Okay, I can't read. My apologies. So you choose instant, you choose sorcery, etc., etc. You can choose planeswalkers. So this is like a weird Thalia. Depending on your opponent's draw, this can be really good or can be not that meaningful. I don't think that this card is going to be particularly good, but I do want to note that like getting to Inweb for 1 mana is probably way stronger than it seems. You've seen Nurturing Pixie. It does a lot of good work. Pixie being able to work with enchantments is a super big deal. This does not do that. But, you know, just keep in mind that this is a way to buy back your Sirens or your Thraben Inspector type cards. And it's a decent rate if you're able to do that. So, interesting card. I'm not particularly excited about this one, but it seems fine. It seems fine. Okay, now we have an exciting one. We have Bellion the Parched. Speaking of parched, I'm going to drink some water. Okay, blue, 2/2. Whenever you cast a blue spell, if it's a creature, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. At the beginning of your end step, untap it. Until your next turn, it becomes a land and gains tap out of blue. So basically, this is kind of like it turns into a mini Wilderness Reclamation where you play it, it does some beatdowns, and then it comes as a land at the end of the turn. So you're always going to have 1 mana. And this thing's pretty good at beating people up. It's not, I mean, it's no VV or whatever, but everyone's played the games where you play a VV and then you just cast Opt in Sleight of Hand, and it's just ridiculous. This is not that good, but it is cheaper. It is in 1 color. It's cool. It's an elemental. It works with Risen Reef. It works decently with Master Waves, I guess. Master Waves can pump it up. But I could see this being decent in a Flash deck. Any deck that wants to play Spell Pierce, getting to play like a reasonable threat. Like this thing can attack for 3 or 4 damage at a time, and it effectively costs half the mana that it looks to cost, assuming that you get to use the mana when you untap with it. So I think this card is probably strong, but it sort of looks like a mono blue card, which is not. I don't know. It's been a while since mono blue has been good in any format, I guess. I guess there's the Belcher deck in Modern, but that's kind of different. Cool card. I would say that this card looks strong to me, but I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't end up having a real home, just because of like the competitive infrastructure of like the way you build a deck around it isn't actually good. But I look forward to trying this card. I think it's cool. Anything that just gives you mana back is always going to be worth taking a look at. Next, we have Detect Intrusion. I don't know the name of this one. I think it's the Spider Senses 1, maybe. So, in web, pick up a tapped creature. This is important because it's an instant. That's a big deal. And then you get to counter instant spell, sorcery spell, or triggered ability. So, for example, let's say you go to combat, you attack with 3 creatures. Your opponent, you're jump attacking because you want to get damage across. Your opponent blocks. They're going to eat one of your creatures, and then they Doomblade another one of them because they want to take less damage. You can play this. You can, excuse me. Sorry for whipping you guys. You can pick up the creature that's being blocked. You can counter the Doomblade, and all for 1 mana. You sort of get to save 2 creatures. That's maybe a best case scenario, but you could see how this card would be good in multiple different spots and have different applications. If you have something like, what is the name of it? I think Urtai. Urtai doesn't, I mean, it's rotated, and it wouldn't see play. It stopped seeing play because it got power gripped by busted Duskmourn cards. But you can see how this is appealing with certain ETBs, where it could be anything with an ETB, but like imagine getting to pick up your Urtai to counter their spell, and then now you have an Urtai you can replay again. So it's a cool card. Is this card actually good? Is this card worth crafting? I probably doubt it. There's just other good non-conditional counter spells like this. I was going to say this can't counter a Kaido. Nothing can counter a Kaido, really, unless it's hard cast. I guess this technically stops it. I don't think it's just a trigger. All right, we're not going to talk about the rules right now. This card seems fine. It being a rare is kind of awkward, but it is exciting. Do I think it's actually going to end up being super important, super good? Not really, but I could be wrong. Counter spells are always good. Lost in Litjara. Saga, 4 mana. Surveil 3. Okay, not great for 4 mana. It's pretty bad. When you cast a creature spell this turn, copy it. Okay. That's fine. It's not legendary, so that's cute. Third, this needs to be a really good payoff. Choose a card name. Whenever a creature with the chosen name deals combat damage to a player this turn, draw a card. Alright, this card seems really bad. You're just going to die when you play it. It gets countered by a lot of things. There's red decks that are still very good in Standard, even with the mice bans. Yeah, I don't think you play this card. It's fun. If you want to have fun, play it. But if your goal is to create competitive strategies or fringe strategies where you want to win more than you lose, probably don't play this one. All right, next up, this card, I actually don't know. I haven't been paying that much attention to this set. I've honestly read most of these cards. Like that one I just read for the first time, for example. I haven't read all these cards, but I have read this one. And I'm curious what people think, because to me this card looks kind of busted, but it's similar to some other cards that were really bad. But let's get into it. So, Murata is the name. This is like Doc Ock, I think, something, in the paper version. But it is a 1-mana 0/2. It's a legend, which is important because this card seems like it could go well in a Mox Amber Shell with like Emery. Whenever you draw your first or second card each turn, put an Ingenuity counter on Murata. You can tap it. You may cast an artifact spell from your hand with mana value less than or equal to the number of Ingenuity counters on Murata without paying its mana cost. So, what I think it's Joyra. I think there was a Dominaria United card that was like, tap it, put 2 counters on it. You could put an artifact from your hand into play. But this thing, the reason I made the note about Mox Amber is like that is relevant. It is like getting to play Emery with Mox Amber is just always going to be good. You saw it in the modern deck, the Breach deck that got banned. And it's nice to have an extra 1-drop or more cheap legends that could sort of fit into that shell. The problem is maybe you don't actually care about putting artifacts into play with this card. So I don't know, like it maybe when you go to build a deck, it doesn't really end up making as much sense as it could, but it's pretty easy for this to just get 2 counters a turn, meaning that your first turn, it's not going to have any counters. Your second turn, it gets to 2, you get to put a 2-drop into play for free. So it's sort of a Soul Ring if you can play in a 2-drop, and then your next turn, it gets to make potentially 4 mana if you play some card draw effects. So I don't know exactly. I guess it also triggers for your draw step. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, it's pretty clear that this card is capable of doing really busted stuff. If you have this on turn 1, if you play it and then you play a Mox Amber and you cast like a Consider, it gets a counter. Next turn, it gets a counter. You play another cantrip of any sort. Now it has 3 counters, so you can potentially just put a 3-drop into play on turn 2, and you have the extra Mox Amber mana. So I could see this. There's the legend from Final Fantasy that like cares when you surveil. There's some artifacts that are going to surveil or scribe for you that can draw more cards. So this is what I'm sort of worried about, but like cards like this do end up falling short. I wouldn't be surprised if this card just wasn't good, but I think it's one of the more exciting cards in the set. If they're pre-selling for like a quarter or whatever, I would probably just pick them up just to not worry about it and have the peace of mind. But yeah, 1-drop, blue 1-drop that works in artifact shells. That's legendary. I think keep an eye out for this one. I don't know. I guess I could discuss some of the payoffs. It could be Mystic Forge. It could be Simulacrum Synthesizer. There's all sorts of like Metalwork Colossus nonsense you can do. I'm sure in Modern there's infinity things you could do, like Affinity, for example. But yeah, I've talked enough about this card. It just makes mana and it's cheap, and those cards are always worth keeping an eye on. So next we have Spectral Restitching. X and blue, instant, exile target artifact and or creature, or excuse me, exile X. Return the exiled cards to the battlefield under owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So this card's interesting. The rate on it probably isn't the best, but then it's an instant. Typically you don't see these effects on instants. They're almost always sorceries. And then there's the fact that you get to blink your opponent's things, right? So if my opponent has tokens, if my opponent used Unholy Annex to make a demon, I can spend 5 mana or whatever and blink 3 of my things and kill your demon. So the fact that this just gets to eat tokens, it gets to like downscale creatures that have 1/1 counters. Like you can tutor this up with Micromancer, which is kind of cute. That's a Foundations card. Do I think this card is going to be good? No, but like it could be. Unholy Annex is really powerful in Pioneer. Part of that has to do with Mutavault. Doesn't see as much play in Standard. But I can envision a world where there's just reasons that this thing is worth playing. I guess you can maybe kind of combat Cauldron by blinking their stuff. You can reset their Agatha's Soul Cauldron by blinking it, so all the things that were exiled under it no longer work. And that is appealing. So this card's cool. I don't really think this one ends up being the most competitive card in Standard, but I kind of appreciate how pushed it is in different directions, because I think typically these types of effects are just not worth pursuing for competitive constructed formats. So this one's interesting. I would be happy if it saw some play. Yeah, moving on. The Watcher of the Road. This is, I'm supposed to know the name. Jake Gyllenhaal. Mysterio, I think. Yes, I think it's Mysterio. The Watcher on the Road. 4 mana, 3/3. When Watcher on the Road enters, you get a 3/3 for each non-token villain you control. So this is like a villain card. If you want to build a villain deck, play this thing. Exile those tokens when the Watcher of the Road leaves the battlefield. So it's, what is the name? Precursor Golem, I think, is a Scars of Mirrodin card, kind of similar to this. At base rate, you're getting 4 mana, 2 3/3s. If your opponent just nowhere runs your 3/3, they all go away. Is this card good? I don't know. I kind of doubt it. If you're playing a matchup where your opponent's just like not interacting with your creatures and you're going human, 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 this, make 4 3/3s or whatever, and then they don't interact with that, they're probably combo killing you, because like what else would they possibly be doing? This card is pretty bad if you build a board and they wrath it and then it's all you have left. It's also not that good against spot removal, so if your opponent can just like block your smaller creatures, they're just going to blow this up with their spot removal. Yeah, I mean, this card doesn't seem very good. It's cool. It's cool design. Maybe there's some ways to use it that I don't understand, but I don't think this one is worth playing with. All right, let's try to speed up. We've got a lot to go through. Duskmourn's Claim. 3 mana. At the beginning of your end step, 2 target players each reveal the top card of their library. They each lose life equal to the mana value of the cards revealed. And then they put the cards in their hand. So this is like a forced Dark Confidant at the beginning of your end step. So if I'm playing against ramp, I can put this in, and then my curve's really low. I reveal a 1, you reveal a 7. That's good for me. If your opponent's curve isn't high, there's not really ramp decks in Standard typically. It's also not particularly good against X spells, which you'll see sometimes in like the teamer decks. And then you're spending 3 mana to have a symmetrical Dark Confidant effect. This is a cool design. I mean, it sounds like the dream of your opponent just continuously low rolling and dying is great, but I think this card sucks. Moving on. The House Grows Hungry. Is this all Duskmourn? Am I an idiot? I thought there was a Lily on it on one of the arts. Whatever. It seems like Duskmourn. Okay. 3 mana. Destroy target creature. Each player, for Chapter 1, each player may discard a card. Each player who doesn't loses 3 for Chapter 2. And then Chapter 3, exile any number of target players' graveyards. So you get stuff. None of it seems great. It's a Sorcerer's Speed Doomblade, and then you have this like sort of symmetrical effect that probably doesn't really matter in most games. And then you get to exile your opponent's graveyard. Like, the timing of the exiling your opponent's graveyard is really awkward, because if they know it's going to happen, they can just do their graveyard stuff first. This card seems terrible. All right. Good talk. That might be a common theme. There's some really strong cards in this set, and then there's some cards that look like they were made in like 2 minutes to fit the flavor of Spider-Man. So, it is what it is. We're in 2025. We're doing Universes Beyond, so it goes. Now we have Luis. So we're going to call him. All right. X, black, 2/1 lifelink. Enters with X counters. Deals X damage to target opponent. So I think that this card is not good. One thing I want to say, which goes back to my point of it not being good, is it is a double black 2-drop for Devotion, which is kind of nice. So like you get a card for a black Devotion deck that is a 2-mana card, so it fits the curve of like, I need to have my Devotion count high. I want my Nykthos and my Grey Merchant to be better. And then it's a payoff for having Nykthos. So maybe I'm just coping. Maybe it's a meme. You know, mono black Devotion, competitive deck. Haha, not really. But it does kind of fit into that space. Like, yes, this is much worse than Gifted Aetherborn on turn 2. But Gifted Aetherborn can't just fireball your opponent for like 7 once you have Nykthos going. So does this card matter? Do you need this type of effect if you're playing with Grey Merchant? I don't think so. In regards to standard, it's just so below rate, like at every point. Like 3 mana, 3/1. Your opponent takes 1. This card seems really bad to me. The only thing I could see trying it in is like a devotion deck. I think that this card is a very simple, cool, clean design. It kind of feels like an intro deck card where like if you're a new player, you read this and you're like, this is awesome. This is everything I ever want. But in terms of like a competitive standard viability, I don't see it. So that's my pessimistic perspective. The card seems bad, unfortunately. Next we have, this is like Venom Agent something. This is like a Flash Midnight Reaper. You get a 3 mana 2/3 Flash Menace. When another non-token creature you control dies, draw a card and lose a life. So not optional. I think this is the same as Midnight Reaper. There's a key difference, which first off, Midnight Reaper's in Foundations, so it's always going to be legal. While this is legal for better or for worse. And Midnight Reaper draws a card when it dies. This does not. So does that make Menace and 3 toughness worth having over Midnight Reaper? It's interesting because like if you play a Midnight Reaper and then you go to combat and go to trade creatures or whatever, your opponent is just not going to do it a lot of the time, assuming the damage is like negligible. This one people might just block because they're like, whatever, I don't care. I want to trade, and then you get the cards. I think the fact that this is just not going to draw a card when it dies and it beats down a little bit worse. I mean, it has Menace, but it has less stats. I don't think I love this. Like, if your opponent Day of Judgments you'd probably rather have Midnight Reaper anyway, because you're just going to draw off all the creatures dying and the Midnight Reaper. Whereas this one, if you flash it in, it doesn't draw off itself. And you also don't really want to flash it in after your creatures die. So I think this card's not good. It's cool. I think it's a cool design. I like seeing a flash Midnight Reaper. Maybe it ends up being better than I appreciate. Yeah. Villainous Wrath. 5 mana, sweeper. Target opponent loses life equal to the number of creatures they control, and then destroy all creatures. So if you have 5 creatures, you take 5. I kill your board. These are effects that are kind of on the opposite end of like, you typically don't care about your opponent's life total when you're wrathing. Your goal is to care about your life total, and stall the game out and just kind of grind your opponent by having more stuff than they do because you killed 3 of their things with 1 of your thing. It's a cool card. This seems like a casual card. Maybe Commander players like it. I don't know exactly what else to say about it. Deadly Cover-Up. I think it's called Deadly Cover-Up. That card is really powerful. Much better than this. You should probably include that in your fair decks. Maybe there's some sort of combo deck that makes infinite tokens and doesn't win in 1 turn. Those decks probably aren't particularly good anyway, but it would be funny to Villainous Wrath that opponent. Maybe you play some games against an Elspeth deck and you're like, holy moly, they have a lot of tokens and you just get to deal 15. That could happen. I'm not going to pretend that this is something that you should have in your deck against Elspeth at that point. You probably want like Duresses and counter spells and things that can just kill Elspeth. But yeah, cool design. I appreciate this from the perspective of like UB is sort of like new player friendly. I could see how a new player would read this and be like, this is really awesome. I want to play this card. But yeah, for competitive viability, doesn't really have it. Wrench. 5 mana 2/3. When it enters, look at top 9 cards of your opponent's library. Exile 2 face down. And then you get to play those cards from exile that you can use any mana. Any color of mana. So this is like a Gonti, but you don't get Death Touch. You get to look at more cards. You get 2 cards. And it's 1 more mana. So there's probably some synergies in Standard that make this better. This just feels like one of those like classic Universes Beyond cards where it's just like kind of shitty and I don't know, it doesn't feel like it needed to exist, but maybe it's flavorful, so that's why it exists, and we all just move on. So far, my I know I'm not done with the rares, we're like maybe halfway, but my impression has been that you probably shouldn't spend a lot of money on this set, and you should just like craft a few things that you want, unless your goal is to make like Spider-Man decks. Then maybe you can do that. But if you're playing online, then you're not actually making Spider-Man decks. You're making Kraza Spider-Human Hero decks. So next we have a Bio. 3 mana 2/3. Flying, this is the Shocker, I think. You don't lose unspent red mana as steps and phases end. So you'll never lose your mana on either player's turn, I believe. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, add red. When it leaves the battlefield, you can pay X, and then you deal X to target opponent. So, this is kind of like a VV. It's definitely not as good as VV, but it is in one color. Typically, you end up wanting to pair cards like this with blue cards anyway, because they have the best cantrips. But it is nice if you are playing a mono red deck. Like, there are some red card advantage spells that are decent. I don't know if they're in standard currently anymore. But I could see how this is something that maybe you could combo with in a format like Pioneer, for example, where you just play a bunch, or I guess even Modern, where you just play a bunch of the like Reckless Impulse / Ren's Resolve type effects. You keep making mana, keep drawing cards, you keep playing more spells, etc., etc. You point some burn spells at your opponent's face, and then you can just fireball your opponent by killing this or whatever it is. I don't like. There's what's the name? There's a Kaldheim card, Bergie, I think is the name, that does it. It has a similar effect. I think it's whenever you play a red spell, you get red mana. So could go in that style of deck. Maybe you could try to build some sort of storm deck in Pioneer. In regards to standard, I don't know where this fits. To be honest, it's probably not something I'm going to spend much time spending on. It's not. It doesn't seem good in a typical mono red deck. And I don't know how many spells there are that are going to make this worth doing. Maybe VV gets banned, and you can play this in, like, Prowess, I guess. Probably worth giving a shot if that reality unfolds. I don't know if VV's going to get banned, or Cauldron's going to get banned, or nothing's going to get banned, or they're going to ban Magic, or they're going to ban me, or they might even ban you. Cool card. Whatever. Moving on. Kraza, the Swarm as 1. 2 mana, 2/1 Riot. So this is Spider Punk. Other spiders you control have Riot. So Riot is, when they come into play, you either get to put a 1/1 counter on them or give them haste. Spells and abilities can't be countered. Damage can't be prevented. So, what is the baseline rate on a 2 mana, 2/1 Riot? So this can be countered. Spells and abilities can't be countered. Damage can't be prevented. So you get a 3/2 or a 2/1 haste. So that, like, 2 mana, 2/1 Riot, not good enough. Definitely not good enough. All your spiders have Riot, I think, is the thing that you have to care about. The spells and abilities can't be countered. It's cool. Damage can't be prevented. That's fine. A lot of games are going to be, like, pretty straightforward, where your opponent's going to kill this or block it. And that stuff's not going to have a huge impact most of the time. All of your spiders getting counters and having Riot is a big deal. One of the first things I thought of with this is, like, maybe you can build, like, a weird humans spider deck. I think most of the spiders are also humans. So in Pioneer, you could potentially have a deck where you're Thales Lieutenanting, you have a really low curve, you're playing every spider human that's 1 and 2 mana, and you're just constantly presenting a bunch of damage. I think this card's fine. I think it's probably good. I'll have to look at more of the spider cards to have a better opinion, but everything getting haste all the time is nice. I'm not going to pretend that that's not good, and it seems cheap enough to be relevant, as well as these extra little bits of text. So, is this good if everyone's casting Torch the Tower and whatever removal spells? No. But as a 2-drop to enable a spider deck, I think this is probably pretty decent. Lava Brink repels the Magma Loth. Okay. It really does. Until it's a 5-minute saga. Until your next turn, each creature attacks each combat if able, and attacks a player other than you if able. So that's for commander, I guess. 2 mana, add triple red. Chapter 2, add triple red. Chapter 3 deals 5 damage to each opponent. This card seems unplayable. It's cool. It's flashy. This is one of the Carnage cards, I think. Yeah, this card seems really bad. Laszlo, Enthusiastic Accuser. This is the newspaper guy. I don't know. Gordon? No. That's Commissioner Gordon. That's Batman. I don't fucking know. Alright, 3 mana 2/2. When it enters, suspect up to 1 creature. So that creature can't block and has Menace, I believe. Whenever a creature you control with menace attacks, you get a treasure. So I play this. I suspect my human, or my creature, it's hard to block. It attacks, I get a treasure. That's nice. You can also make it so their creature can't block, but then you're not getting treasures. You could fill your deck with things that make menace. There's like that card from the OTJ Vault set, or slot, whatever you want to call it. Magic is really confusing now. But there's like menace 2-drops in red you could play alongside this that do more treasure-y things. This sort of works well with Magda, right? Magda wants you to have 3 treasures in play. I could see this card seeing some play. I doubt it would be in a super competitive deck, but it's a good design. Like, I like it. It's a 3-mana 2/2 though, so probably not going to make the cut. Quint's Insight. 2 mana. At the beginning of your... I should stop ADHDing and rotating. Sorry. Quint's Insight. 2 mana enchantment. At the beginning of your first main phase, discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Whenever you play a land or cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, this enchantment deals 1 damage to each opponent. I have not seen this card before. I'm trying to make sure it's in the set mentally. Okay. At the beginning of your first main phase, discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Whenever you play a land or cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand. So this is like another Pia type card. It doesn't even set itself up. You just draw a card. This is a weird design. It could probably just exile the top card instead of drawing a card, right? I think it would make a little more sense. I don't really know who designed this and why it doesn't do that, because that doesn't seem like something that would be too powerful. It deals 1 damage, but that's fine, right? I mean, it's a little bit worse, but it also enables itself. I think it's a little more satisfying. This card, I don't know. It makes me upset, and I don't think it's very good. So, that's my thoughts. Next card, Rinza the Spider Crowned. So this is one of the Spider-Mans. 1 mana, 1/2. Whenever you attack with 2 or more spiders, put a 1/1 counter on it. Whenever it deals 4 or more damage, exile the top card of your library. Until the end of your next turn, you may play that card. So, this is what you want to pair with the Spider-Punk thing. Kraza. So, turn 1, play this. Turn 2, Kraza, haste, attack. Now it's a 2/3. Also, you can give it Riot to have it have extra counters. You can give it haste. I guess you're probably always going to give it haste. I suppose if you have this in play and 2 spiders, you can play it, Riot it for the counter, because you're going to get the trigger when 2 spiders attack. So I think if you're going to build a spider deck, it's probably going to be red-based, I would guess, and you're going to want to include these 2 cards. That being said, you're competing with the other red cards that exist. And I don't know how easy it's going to be to, like, you can't really, I don't know if you could splash these or, like, put them into a mono red deck. I don't know if there are enough spiders for that. But this card seems strong. Like, a 1 mana 2/3 effectively, like, this is going to be that a lot of times, sometimes be even bigger, is really strong. Monstrous Rage rotated, but, like, you could play this with Wild Ride and attack and maybe draw a card. So, another thing that works with Mox Amber, another Spider Human, solid 1-drop. I'm not sure how many 1-drops we've seen that are spiders. So this seems like a very important card if there is going to be a spider deck. So maybe focus on this one if you want to do Spider-Man stuff. But you can't do it online. Fate Weaver. So we're on the green. G for a 1/1 Reach Death Touch. So this is a something recluse. Pay 2. Sacrifice it. Search your library for Spider Hero. Reveal it. Put in your hand. Shuffle. Only the sorcery. Okay, this is kind of cool with, I guess, the Agatha the Soul Cauldron deck. Like, there's no Tyvar anymore, but this is something you can pick up off of your Black Overlord or your, like, cash grab. I think that's the name of it. So it's just a blocker. We've seen people play cards like this. It mostly was for, I think, Slick Shot Show Off before, but it has this bonus text where you get a Spider Hero card. So maybe in Insidious Roots, you could play some of these, and maybe there's some black or green spider thing that's worth doing. I'm not going to spend that much time talking about this card. It does also work with, I guess, the Soul Cauldron. It feels pretty bad to craft this as a rare, though, I'm going to be honest. So next we have King of the Cold Blood Curse. This is Lizard Guy from Spider-Man. 4 mana, 5/5 trample. When it enters, Up to one other target creature loses abilities, becomes a green 4/4. So if I have a Yorvo, right? Yorvo's like a 3-drop that has 4 counters, and it gets more counters when you play things. And I play this, I believe it'll get 2 counters, it'll go to a 6/6, and then it'll become a 4/4, it'll be a 10/10. So like you could play Yorvo into this and attack your opponent for 10 in Pioneer. That's not that powerful. That's not that exciting, relatively speaking. Probably gonna be met by a Fatal Push or whatever removal spell. This can ice some stuff. Like losing abilities is kind of cute. Typically, you're gonna want to like most of the time. I think you're gonna want to have a creature that's like a 1/1 counter card. Excuse me. Do I think this card is good? Do I think this card will see play? No. My gut instinct is no. I like the design. I think it's pretty clean. I think it's pretty elegant. I think it makes sense. I think it feels good. You sort of like, my guy is better than your guy, but your guy changes in a way where it's potentially stronger. Like, your VV no longer has a text box, but now it's a 4/4, but my green thing beats yours in combat. So I think it feels good. I think it's a good design. Do I think it'll be good for standard? Probably no. But maybe. Maybe there's like a 1/1 counter deck that wants it. Next we have the Scouring Storm Soul. 3 mana. This is the Sandman. Power and toughness equal to the number of lands you control. Can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. So it has some evasion. And then you can spend 5, return it, and target land card from your graveyard to the battlefield tap. So maybe your Field of Ruining. Maybe in Pioneer you're Lotus Fielding or something. And like you can see how this would potentially be good with Spelunking. Like, if you're getting back a Lotus Field, this basically costs 2 mana if the Lotus Field's coming into play untapped. I don't know if that translates to doing anything important. The baseline rate of, like, this is a 3 mana 3/3. Most of the time when you activate it, it's going to come back as a 6/6. It has evasion. This is cool. It's a cool design. Am I excited for it? Do I think it's good? Do I think it'll be good with any specific lands in a format? No. Maybe it's decent in like Cube. Maybe there's some sort of weird lands deck in Standard that this will be good for. All in all, not too exciting to me. Looks relatively vanilla, and the ability is good, but it's just the type of thing that, like, you just die. Like, when you play Magic now, you're just dead. Oh, I'm going to spend 5 mana to get a tapped guy? It's like, that's great, I'll kill you. It's free. Like, it's from the graveyard. So that's good, but I'm not going to pretend that I'm super excited for Sandman, I think. I hope I'm wrong. I hope there's some cute things you can do and people figure something out. Next we have Strength of Will. That's my name, Will. 2 mana. Instant. Until end of turn, target creature you control gains indestructible, and whenever this creature is dealt damage, put that many 1/1 counters on it. Okay, so this is the one, I think it's infinite with Walking Ballista and Hangerback Walker for Modern. That doesn't sound particularly powerful to me, but you use the Walking Ballista. The Walking Ballista will have 2 counters. You use one of the counters to deal damage to itself, and then it'll get 2 counters. So you can amass infinite counters and then just fireball your opponent. Trying to think about it for Standard. Dungeon target creature control gains indestructible. Dealt damage. I don't know. This is kind of like make my thing a Screaming Nemesis, sort of. I don't think that this card is actually good, but it seems like it could be a really big blowout in specific instances. I don't think this is the type, like, a lot of people are casting it into the Flood Maw. There's like things that exile in the format. I would not put this card in my deck, but it is going to be a house. Like, you're going to play games of Limited where your opponent does this, and it's going to be very unfortunate. Next we have Jesus. Okay. Haven't seen this. So this is the Porky the Pig card. Spider Pig, I guess. Terran Tusk. So we have a Spider Boar Hero. 2 mana 2/2. When it enters, you get a food token, and then your spiders, boars, bats, bears, birds, cats, dogs, frogs, jackals, lizard, mice, otters, rabbits, raccoons, rats, squirrels, turtles, wolves. You get +1/+1. See, Shoot the Sheriff is pretty annoying because it's like, what is this pump? Yeah, this is even worse. I don't. Mentally, I'm gonna be like, this pumps non-humans, but I'm gonna find a creature that's not like an elemental, right? It just doesn't pump elementals. I hate this card. I don't know. Okay, let's pretend that I don't hate it, and I'm trying to help people decide if this card is good or not. You get a food token that works in your squirrel deck. Squirrels have not typically been good. This is a Lord for 2 mana that comes with value attached. I mean, maybe this card is good in a squirrel deck, genuinely. Like, you do need food tokens to make a lot of the cards, like, stronger. It's a decent Lord. It's got an ETB. It's legendary, so maybe you can't play 4, but I don't know. Maybe this seems like the type of thing where if it was 2-year standard and not 3-year standard, I would be going, yeah, I could see this. I could see this going in some sort of aggro deck, but like in 3-year standard, I just can't imagine that this is worth doing instead of playing like mono red or VV or something else. So yeah, that's my thoughts. Cool card, I guess. Like the text box is annoying. This is more Universes Beyond stuff. I've vented about how much I hate Starting Town because like, I'm gonna go off on a quick tangent, but like they intentionally, when there's a land that should be legendary, they won't make it legendary because they don't want the like gameplay to feel bad. And with Starting Town, it's like, I mean, I get the flavor of it, but it could just be worded that it comes into play tapped, just like Razorverge Thicket, where like you have to have, if you have 3 lands, it comes into play tapped. And then you just have these games Starting Town where you're like trying to draw your 3rd land and you miss your land drop for a few turns and then it just comes into play tapped and it feels like complete shit for the sake of it being flavorful. Kind of how this feels, where like this could just say non-human and I think everyone would be happier. So, whatever. It's just more Universes Beyond BS is what it is. I'm old and grumpy. I'll get over it. A Trail of Teacups, 4 mana. Mill 5 cards. When you do, the saga deals damage equal to the greatest power among creature cards in your graveyard to target creature. So it's sort of like a removal spell. Target creature you control gets +2/+2 for Chapter 2. And Chapter 3, return target creature from your graveyard to your hand. So, if I have Fatty Boom Booms, I get to kill a thing, buff a dude, regrow a card. None of this seems like what competitive standard is about. Very sweet design. I wish a card like this would be good. I don't think it will be. Probably will be decent and limited. There we go. Alright. We're getting there. We're on multicolored. So we have Elena Brood Recruiter. 4 mana, 3/5, N-Web or Web Sling. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you get a 1/1 human. You pay 5 mana. Creatures you control get +2/+2 in Vigilance. So, on turn 3, I can cast this. I could pick up my 2-drop. Or my 1-drop. I can next turn replay that, play another 2-drop. I get 2 1/1s. The turn after that, I can give everything +2/+2. Now I have a 5/7, and then at minimum, I have like 2 3/3s, so that's 11. All that being said, you're probably going to put this into play and your opponent's going to kill it. So, is it good? No, I don't think so. But it does seem like a borderline card. I've said this a lot anytime I do set reviews or anything like this where it's like, I really wish we were back to 2-year standard because it is so difficult to get excited about Magic cards in 3-year standard. It makes it so much harder. And I get that there are benefits and pros to like why they did things in 3-year standard, but I would argue that time has proven that the change to 3-year standard was not good. I have a bias. I've been saying it forever, but I really wish we could go back. So that's my note on that. Put a pin in that. Angler's Shield. 4 mana. Equipment. Blue-white. When it enters, attach it to a creature. Creature +2/+2 and has, whenever this deals combat damage to a player, draw a card for each modified creature you control. So it is a modified creature. That means you draw 1 card. So you attach for free. So let's compare this to Enduring Curiosity, right? If I go 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop, and I play Enduring Curiosity and attack you and you do nothing, I draw 3 cards. If I go 1 drop, 2 drop, 3 drop, and I play this and I attack you, I draw 1 card unless you probably get your 1 drop or your 2 drop to be modified. So maybe you're going to draw 2 cards. Enduring Curiosity has Flash. This does not, which I think is fine. Enduring Curiosity is insulated against removal. That isn't exile based. This is also relatively insulated against removal. Enduring Curiosity does not buff stats. This does buff stats. So most people are going to argue, and I think rightfully so, that Enduring Curiosity is a stronger card than this. But Enduring Curiosity is really busted. Like, it is. I think it is a bad design. If anyone watched the Dustborn video, I remember just being like, really? This is how we made this card? So if this is close to Enduring Curiosity, I could see it being a good card. It is an artifact. It triggers Synthesizer. It can get tutored by Cloud. That's actually a pretty big deal. So I think with the thought of it being able to be tutored by Cloud, and it's seeming like it has some relevant text boxes, I don't know how exactly you're going to get modified creatures into your deck. But there are just, I mean, there have been cards in Magic that just make themselves bigger and better. And obviously, if you're playing Cloud, you're just going to have other equipments lying around. I believe, so Final Fantasy has the cards that, there are equipments that come with a creature attached. So that's a great example of a way you could just curve into this and draw a bunch of cards. So I actually think this card's probably pretty good. The equipment cost is 2. That's pretty cheap. And you get the stats. So this is a card where I think the first time I read it, I assumed it was just kind of do nothing. But after reconsidering and sort of assessing it in real time, excuse me, I do think that this card is actually pretty good. So yeah, maybe we'll give this one a shot in Blue-White Cloud with like Shelter by Ghost. Blue-White is one of the decks that the mana base really sucks, but there is a land we'll get to that does kind of help. So we'll see. Next we have Boris, the Spider Rider. 3 mana, 4/3, and Web or Web Sling for 2. Trample. If it was cast using in Web, enters with X/1/1 counters, where X is the mana value of the return creature. So Nova Hellkite, I think, is the obvious one where, like, you can play it for 3. It's going to go away anyway, and then all of a sudden you play this and you get a 9. You get a 9/8, sorry, I had to reboot it. Does that matter? Is that a thing that's going to be relevant in games? Probably not. But maybe. So the other thing you can do, I guess, like, if you have Llanowar Elf, you can tap Llanowar Elf, float the mana, play this, replay the Llanowar Elf, and now it's just a 5/4. So how good is 3 mana 5/4 on, or turn 2 5/4 trample? That's pretty good. It's not the best, but it's reasonable. And maybe there are some other sort of synergies like the Nova Hellkite and other things sort of similar to that could be worth doing. All in all, am I excited about this card? Do I want to put this in my decks? Do I want to play Gruul? No, I don't. But if you told me this card was good for reasons, I could see it, I suppose. Now we have Braco, Heartless Hunter. 3 mana, 4/3 trample. When a creature an opponent controls with the greatest power among creatures that player controls dies, draw a card, put a 1/1 counter on it. So when your opponent's biggest thing dies, you get to draw a card, and it gets bigger. So this is kind of like Cecil, or not Cecil, excuse me, Chevelle. Chevelle was in the Godzilla set, I don't know what it's called. Ikoria. Yeah, that was a good set, right? Companion. So you want to kill your opponent's biggest thing anyway. And if you do, you get paid for it. So this is Kraven the Hunter. Is that good? Do I want to play a card that just dies to Lightning Strike and nowhere to run for 3 mana in my deck that I need to untap with? No, I don't think I do. Yeah. I mean, this maybe in another universe. Maybe they ban more stuff in Standard. Maybe we go back to 2-year Standard. I think I could see myself getting excited about this card. It could be okay in mid-range decks. But all in all, I just put Preacher of the Schism in your deck or whatever it has for toughness. Cheering Crowd. So 2 mana, 2/2. Beginning of each player's first main phase, that player may put a 1/1 counter on it, and then they add a colorless for each counter. So your opponent gets to do it first. And you end up with a 3/3, and then they have 4 mana. This card seems very bad. My goal would be to use the mana and then kill this. And then my card just made my opponent mana. This one just seems like maybe it's for flavor. I don't know. This card. Okay. Next up, Tomorrow's Soul of a Spider. We have a lot of cards like this where it's just like, this card sucks. And then we move on. I guess that's how Magic sets used to be, though, to be fair. Tomorrow's Soul of a Spider. So, this is Mary Jane, I think. 2 mana, 2/2. When a spider you control enters, draw a card, triggers once a turn. Is this good? Maybe your spider deck ends up being Boros. It's not a spider itself. It can draw a card a turn. I think we've seen some cards like this, and like compared to like Enduring Innocence, it's just so much worse. Like it just dies and then it does nothing. Yeah, I don't think this card's actually good. Drawing cards is fun though. 4 mana, 4/3, Desecrex. That's it. Trample. When it enters, return target creature with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains this creature attacks each combat if able. And when this creature deals combat damage to a player, sacrifice it. Mayhem 2. So you get to cast it for 2 mana if you've discarded this turn. So in standard, there's like a cat. There's a spider cat that just is a 1-drop with haste that you can just loot by sacrificing it. So this could come into play. You could sack the cat, play this on turn 2, and then return the cat, and then attack with the cat, and then the damage trigger on the stack. You can loot again. That's cute. Is that good? Is that worth doing? I guess the other thing is the cat could discard a 3-drop. Okay, so that's kind of busted, right? Ideally, you would want a 3-drop that like does something by just being in play. Or it could be like Unstoppable Slasher, right? Like imagine where you go turn 1 cat, attack you for 1. Turn 2, sacrifice the cat, discard Unstoppable Slasher, cast Desecrex, get back Unstoppable Slasher, attack you. You go to whatever, 10. And then it comes back with the stun counters. And then they're at 10. You have a 4/3 trample. The 4/3 is going to get back the cat the next turn because it got back the slasher the first time. Maybe you can discard another card. This card actually seems really, really powerful in conjunction with the 1-drop. I don't know how many other enablers there are in the format. I'm hoping that I know what Mayhem does. I think I do. So I think this all tracks and makes sense. There's going to be even better options in older formats. So maybe, like in Pioneer, you have Insolent Neonate plus the cat. So you're going to have 8 enablers for this. And then there's just other ways to discard. Mayhem, I don't know Mayhem. I assume Mayhem is you have to discard. It's possible it's either player discards, but this card looks strong. Yeah. Another sort of in real time reading a card and then thinking about how it could be good. But maybe that helps for other people sort of processing how the new cards work and understanding my analysis. Now we have Drunith, Reviver of the Hive. So this is the Jackal. This card is crazy. This card looks the most busted to me potentially, but there's some gnarly cards in the set. So this one is a 2 mana 1/1 trample. When you cast a creature spell with mana value equal to its power, copy it. Except the copy isn't legendary. Put a 1/1 counter on it, and then the copy's a token. So one of the things I mentioned is like, if you play this and then you untap and you play 1-drop Burning Tree Emissary, Imidane's Recruiter, your opponent just dies. You just kill him. You get double 1-drops, double Burning Tree Emissaries. That translates to 4 mana. You could also do it with Goblin Bushwhacker. But that's like a very level 1 obvious way to do something with this card. You could do something like play a Soul Sister and then play like an Ajani's Pridemate. Then you get double Soul Sisters, you get double Pridemates, you get double triggers. All of a sudden they're getting really big really fast. This thing also can just be a 3/3 on turn 3 relatively easily. So yeah, there's like you could play Dauntless Bodyguard, Selfless Spirit, like or Selfless Savior. There's a lot of ways to just play things that will protect it. You can sandbag this till turn 3, and your opponent taps out. Then you play it. Then you play your Dauntless Bodyguard. Now it has 2 indestructible things that can save it. The next 2-drop you play is going to make it even bigger. So I think it just feels like a card that just lets you kill people on turn 3, basically, if you nut draw them. It's a legend for Mox Amber things, and it's also just value, right? Like, a lot of times when you have these, like, nut draws where it's like a 4-card combo or a 3-card combo or whatever it is, the parts are awkward and bad, where, like, even if you're not killing your opponent, even if you don't have exactly 1-drop Burning Tree, Imitating Recruiter, or Bushwhacker, like, I can just play a 1-drop and a 2-drop, and it made me 3 mana. Like, this 2-drop, that is now a 3/3 trample, made me 3 mana the turn after I played it. So it's kind of similar to VV, where VV actually makes you mana. This does not. But you're getting paid. You're like getting the mana and drawing the cards. Like, you're putting the thing into play for free. So this design terrifies me. Hopefully it just like sucks and it doesn't matter. But if you're gonna build a deck with this card, your curve should just be like 10 ones, like whatever, 14 or 14 12-ish 2s, and then like 8 3s, something like that. You just want a high density of 1s and 2s, and then some 3s. I think this card's incredibly powerful. I'm scared of it. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully it is fine. So this is maybe, in my opinion, this looks like the strongest card. We'll see. There's probably some other cards I haven't read, but keep an eye out for Jackal and or Drunith. Now we have Gloria, the Great Armorer. So this is another one of the spider people, persons. 3 mana, 3/3. Whenever you attack, 1/1 counter on a target attacking creature. Whenever a modified creature you control deals combat damage to a player, exile the top card. You may play that card this turn. So, what was the name of it? There was like a soldier card that it's like a Luminarch Aspirant, right? It just makes your things better at attacking, and then it also draws you cards. So, I think that this is pretty strong. Like, I could see. I mean, this is Pioneer, right? This maybe isn't better than Screaming Nemesis, but it does look pretty powerful. Where also, like, you could play in a human deck and just play Cavern, and now it's not counterable. But like, maybe you play Kamano faces Kakazan, you play your 2-drop. Now your 2-drop's modified. Then your Kamano flips. Now you play Gloria. Gloria, you attack with the Kamano backside. Modify the Kamano. It's a 3/3. You attack. I guess so. It says you may play that card this turn. Excuse me. So you don't draw cards until you untap. All right. Well, this card is much less good than I thought it would be. Magic's complicated now. You may play that card this turn. Okay. So is this card good with that in mind? You basically have to untap with it on turn 4. I still think the baseline rate of, like, it's sort of like 1/1 haste, 3/3 stats. It does give you extra cards. It could go into the spider deck, like we mentioned, a Boros spider deck. I think this card's solid. I think that this card is worth trying. Is it better than, like, Screaming Nemesis? Probably not. Not many things are. Duskmourn's a good set. So, yeah, solid card. You know, don't be ashamed if you put this in a deck. I think it's worth trying. Now we have, okay, so this is one of the ones I alluded to earlier that I thought might be good with VV. This is like, I don't know, it's like Absolute Spiderman or it's like Dr. Octopus Spider-Man. So it is this is Caveiro, Mind Bitten, 4 mana, 4/4. You may have it enter as a copy of any creature card in your graveyard except its name is whatever. And it's a 4/4 Spider Human. When you do exile that card. So this is kind of like an Agatha's Soul Cauldron by itself. So the first thing I thought when I saw this card was like, okay, well, I can make it in a track set. That's great, but why don't I just play Zombify? And then I thought about, well, what if I just put it in my VV deck? What if I don't have Agatha's Soul Cauldron? Or what if Agatha's Soul Cauldron gets banned and I decide I'm going to play this thing? I'm going to discard my VV. And then on turn 4, I'm going to cast this, and then it's just going to be a VV that has 4 power. So I don't have to do anything. I can immediately make this a 0 mana card. I can make blue, red, play more spells, start pinging my opponent. All of a sudden, it could be like 8 power the turn I play it. And then it just ends up being free. So that is the standout thing. There's been a lot of discourse about should VV be banned? Should Cauldron be banned? If they ban Cauldron, this is the card that I would be a little worried about. You could play like Norman Osborn in your VV deck alongside this, with the new land and starting town. So Yeah, other than that, I think this is mostly a bad Zombify. It has the upside of like, oh, you rest in peace to me. Well, I'm just going to play a 4/4 and attack you for 4. There's some other cute stuff I'm sure you could do with things that aren't specifically VV, but that's the standout to me. So keep this in mind if VV remains legal. And even depending on what gets banned, like maybe Cauldron gets banned and you want to try this as a Grixis deck. So now we have MacD and Itla Sky Snarers. So 2 mana, 2/2, flying, artifacts and creatures your opponent controls enter tap. So this is Imposing Sovereign, but for artifacts, and it has flying, and it's a spider. So all that, and it's a legend. So all that in mind, I think this card's just good. It's pretty boring. There's not too much to say about it. It's like, you're not blocking my things. The fact that it has evasion is relevant because you get to hit them with all your creatures, and then this can actually cross the finish line even if they get to untap. It's difficult for them to race you because you're getting the damage front loaded. So it's kind of hard for them to attack you back, and then this thing can just finish the game. I think it's good. It's a very boring card. It's just kind of text and stats. I think it's clean. I appreciate boring cards in Magic. Yeah, I think this one's good. This is another human, a card I think that could fit into Pioneer Humans pretty easily. So, good card. Good against artifacts. Kind of nice against Cauldron. I'm sure there's a bunch of other things like Simulacrum, Synthesizer. So yeah, solid. Nice you can play it in mono blue and mono white. Okay. Quonez, Horizon Splicer. 5 mana, 4/4. When it enters exile, I'm going to try to shorten this because I remember reading it and it being confusing. So exile a permanent. So exile any non-land permanent and then one target non-land permanent from a graveyard. So you get to exile anything on the board and then one non-land permanent from a graveyard. When it dies, it goes to the bottom of your deck, and then if you do, return the exiled cards to their owner's hand. So this is kind of like an Angel of Serenity, where I can use it as sort of like a seal. I can seal your creature, and then let's say I have, well, whatever. I have some creature in my graveyard that I want. I have a Shieldred. Well, I'm going to target my Shieldred. My Shieldred's exiled. I'm going to target your creature. And now you have the damned if you do, damned if you don't, where if you want your creature back, you kill my thing, I get back a Shieldred. Now, does that translate into a card that's actually good? For 5 mana and a 4/4, it's a dies trigger. It's going to get bounced. It's going to get exiled. I guess if it gets bounced or if it gets exiled, then the cards go away permanently. So if I exile your VV and you into the Flood Maw this, you don't ever get your VV back. Huh. Yeah, this is a weird one. I am not going to give a verdict on this because I don't really know. My final verdict is going to be that I don't think it's good because it's 5 mana. Interesting design, hard to evaluate, probably too clunky for standard. That's my thoughts. All right, almost done. Ruzzik. We have a Goblin Villain. 3 mana, 5/4. Jesus. Okay, so it's big. At the beginning of your upkeep, discard a card, then create a treasure. Mayhem, 2 and hybrid. Red-black. So, I can play this on curve. I can play a Lana Rolf into it even. I get a 5/4. I can turn a card in my hand into a treasure. I actually don't get to choose. How bad is that? I think that's probably good the majority of the time. And then it has Mayhem. So Mayhem, I believe... You know what? Now I'm embarrassed because I think I might have messed it up in other videos. And maybe this one. Let me look it up. This is unprofessional, but... Okay, so Mayhem... How do I look this up? What happened to Magic? Alright. That took a long time to find. You may cast this card from your graveyard for 3 if you discarded it this turn. Okay, so this is just madness. So I think I messed that up. It's too late to go back. So if this gets discarded, like let's say you have, I guess it's legendary, so it doesn't work with 2 of them. But if you have a discard outlet on 2, you get to just play this. You get to do your discard thing for free. So it's just madness. I do wish that they actually said it, but I guess we're looking at the arena version. So that's my mistake. I apologize. Is this card good because it has madness? Does that make it better? Yes. Is it exciting? Not really. Is the rate on it good? I think so. I think like 3 mana 5/4 with this text box is solid. It's not really what Modern Magic is about, but if you think about it in conjunction with the Mayhem, maybe you play it in your Inti deck. There's plenty of ways to discard. You play Fear of Missing Out. Like, this thing beats ass with Fear of Missing Out. Again, it's just probably not relevant in the VV metagame. Most things aren't, but I could see this being decent in the future. So, yeah. Sorry, I messed up on Mayhem. We have Skivix the Augmenter. 3 mana 2/4. Well, that's a good stat line. We got Preacher of the Schism stats. Symbiote Spider Hero. When it deals damage to a player, look at that many cards from the top of your library. Put one of them in your hand and the rest in the graveyard. So it's like a sleight of hand where you get to put the things in the graveyard. If you make it bigger, it gets better. All right, 3 mana, exile this card from your graveyard, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. It gains this card's other abilities, activate only as a sorcery. So I guess it's supposed to be a symbiote where it dies, but it doesn't really die. It just hops around. I can only do it one time. Oh, no, it does gain the ability. Okay, yeah. Okay, so if you can successfully, from the graveyard, put this on a new thing, it will gain... Oh, it doesn't matter. Okay. It's only going to hop once. So how good is the card draw part? When this creature deals combat damage to a player... I guess you kind of just want to discard it, right? Like, I want to discard this, put it on my, or mill it, put it on my Fear of Missing Out, and then all of a sudden, I can attack you for 3, trigger it, look at 3, 2 in the graveyard, attack you again, trigger it, look at 3, put the rest in the graveyard. And then it's relevant on the front. This is kind of like, it's like Quasali Revenant, where you get a decent threat on the front, and then on the back, like the flashback part of it, you get another decent threat. So this is cool. Is this good? Is this competitive in Standard? I don't think so. I think we're going back to the problem of, like, is this better than Preacher of the Schism? And I think the answer is no. And I don't even think Preacher of the Schism is really playable in this current Standard environment anyway. But yeah, it doesn't block that well. It doesn't have the Death Touch. It's got all these extra abilities that are really nice, but you can just block it. Like, if I have a 3/3, I'll just block this thing, and you're never going to trigger it. So, all in all, not that impressive. Cool design. Really, really cool design. Like, some of the designs, I sort of, I don't know, make me not like Universes Beyond, and some of them make me like it. This design, I think, is very cool. So, fan of that one. We have Uharis, the Storm Spinner. So, guy riding spider. 2 mana, 2/3. Can't cast it on your first, second, or third turn. Double strike Vigilance at the beginning of your end step. If you've played a land or cast a spell this turn from anywhere other than your hand, deals damage equal to his power to any target. So this is Sarah Avenger. Double strike Vigilance at the beginning of your end step. If you've played a land or cast a spell this turn. Okay, so this goes back into the I want to play things from exile. So this kind of plays well with Gwen. So this kind of has triple strike if you get to do that. So Wild Ride comes to mind. If you played a land or cast a spell other than your hand. So there's the card from Final Fantasy that's like exile top 2 or pump 2 creatures. So maybe you, like, on turn 3 you play that, exile 2 cards, play one of the lands that you exiled, cast this, play Wild Ride. Now I attack you. I double strike you, so I get 5/5, and then at the end of the turn, you take damage equal to its power. So I can even tap it to flashback the Wild Ride, assuming I have enough mana. I think you would. Yeah. So you could flashback the Wild Ride, target it, so you get to deal 5, 5, and 8. So if you can trigger the last mode and you play this card with Wild Ride, it's very easy to just murder your opponent. The problem is it's kind of awkward to consistently trigger at the beginning of your end step if you played a land or cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand. So I guess there's plot. Plot's like a good example of a way to enable this. That also plays really well with Wild Ride. Yeah, I mean, this looks like a pretty strong card. It is a 4-drop. It's like a fake 4-drop where you can't cast it. So, but when you consider how the like prowess decks end up working, is this better than VV? Is this better than just Wild Ride into VV? No, of course it's not. Will VV always be legal in Standard? I don't know. I am not Wizards of the Coast. If I had to speculate, I would guess maybe not. But I've seen some people say that they like VV and they want it to be around and they just want Cauldron gone. I am not one of those people. So, good card. There's probably other ways you could think about how to combine it, but Wild Ride I think is very in your face. Like, yeah, give it. It has double strike, so give it power and give it haste. All right, we've got artifacts and some lands. So, physics, Ethereum Mechanic. This is a Spiderman card, I think. So this is just Steel Overseer, I believe. 3 mana, 2/3 vigilance. Put a 1/1 counter on each artifact, creature, and or vehicle you control. Pay 2, remove 2 counters from among artifacts you control, draw a card. So that second ability probably not going to be hugely relevant, but it'll be nice if you're playing against sweepers. And yeah, this is just a more expensive Steel Overseer. Is that a good card? I'm going to guess no. I think the difference between 2 mana and 3 mana for Steel Overseer is huge. And even if Steel Overseer, was legal in Standard, I'm not sure it would actually be good. So, it works with Soul Cauldron pretty well, I guess. Maybe VV gets banned and Cauldron stays around and you can build some artifact decks. I don't know. I shouldn't be speculating on bans in this video. But I do sort of want to convey information that I think is important to people watching it. So that's why I'm doing it. Hopefully it is not too annoying. Now we have Giant Craft Helm. 1 mana. Equipment, when a creature you control with mana value 5... What is this art, by the way? Mana value 5 or greater enters. You get to attach it. +4/+4. Equip 5. So, Affinity is the obvious one. There's 2 Affinity cards in Standard. One of them is a 5-drop. It's a 3/4 flying, I think. So let's say I play this on turn 1. I play 2 artifacts on turn 2. On turn 3, I play my 3/4 flying. Now it gets +4/+4. I get a 7/8 for 3 with flying. Is that actually good? Does that matter? Is that competitive in Standard? I don't know. The other thing this works with is the red. I think it's Felmir, Felden. One of the Final Fantasy characters is when it attacks, you get to equip for free. So perhaps you could build like a hybrid, like blue-red equipment deck where you're playing Affinity and then you're playing that Legend. So it also has Ward. Your opponent has to pay life to get its power. So if you get to attack with this, it's a 6/6. Your opponent takes 6. If they want to into the Flood Ball, they're going to take another 6. That's 12 damage. That's real damage. So in the context of a deck that is both playing Affinity cards and playing the things that equip for free, maybe this is good. I think that makes sense. I think you could build a deck like that and sort of justify it decently well. If you want to get really spicy, you could try to play Cloud. I don't think I would go that route with Affinity cards. I think it's maybe a bit too clunky, but yeah, cool. Now we have Phenomena Recorder. 1 mana. This artifact enters 3 film counters. Pay 2, tap, remove a counter. Copy target activated or triggered ability you control. You may choose new targets. I doubt that this card is good. Alright, that's my thoughts. Okay, Reality Fulcrum. 4 mana. When this artifact enters, exile the top 2 cards of your library. Okay, so this works well with potentially with all the things that care about playing things from exile. Until the end of your next turn, you may play those cards. Tap, add 2 mana in any combination of colors. Spend this mana only to cast spells from exile. Wow. It's an interesting card. Like, whenever you combine card draw with mana, like, there's a lot of different things that end up getting scary in Magic. Like, mana and card draw and life gain. Not really life gain and mana, but maybe, I don't know. If you made a bust enough card. But yeah, combining mana with card draw is really good. This is an enabler. It triggers Simulacrum Synthesizer if that ever matters for you. This is kind of like a Showdown of the Skalds, right? Where instead of getting 1/1 counters, you're getting to cast the spells for cheaper. You're getting 2 mana. So is this stronger than Showdown of the Skalds? No. Is this a decent enabler for some of the stuff you might want to be doing in this set? I think so. Do I think that this is a competitive level card in a standard format that has Spell Pierce and a Null? Probably not. Probably not, but maybe, and I like it. So maybe I'll give it a try. Last card, I think. I hope. No, lands. Stitcher's Wings. 3 mana equipment. Enters if it was cast from your graveyard. Attach it to target creature you control. Equipped creature gets +2/+0 and has flying and haste. Equip 2. Mayhem 2. Okay. So if you discarded it, it's 2 mana. If you cast from your graveyard, the equip is 0, basically, for the turn. So what the hell do I do with this? I guess you can play the Looter Cat on 1, and then you can... you can't do anything. Okay. I mean... I think this card sucks. So like at quickest, you're gonna play it on like turn 3. I guess you play a looter on 2. You loot, and then you play this, and then you equip a thing. All right, this card doesn't seem good. I don't know. Like these +2 power flying haste is good. I just don't, I struggle to envision the world where you get these rebates and it's worth doing. Like this is such an aggressive card that you want to use your mana or cheat on mana and just like constantly be going at your opponent's throat. But like if I'm playing Merfolk Looter to enable this, it's not really good. Also, like the Looter connives, right? Like the Norman Osborn, so you can't even get the haste because you have to main phase it on main phase 2. All right, doesn't seem good. I don't know. Maybe if I'm missing something, let me know. All right, we're at the end. This is probably very long. I apologize. Urban Retreat. Why am I going this way? Exclusive Nightclub. So tri-land for Grixis, and then it has Mayhem. If it enters from your graveyard, you lose 2 life. So if I discard this to my Inti, I get a free land for my graveyard. Is that good? I lose 2 life. As a tri-land, I guess this is fine. I think it's not worth playing. It's just going to come into play tapped every time. You could play Starting Town. You could play this new land right here. Does the Mayhem part matter? I've played a lot of, like, especially in Pioneer, just over the years, a lot of decks where you're like, I'm going to discard a thing, and now I get a +1. And it doesn't really end up mattering most of the time. Like, the card advantage is not what makes the discard outlet deck strong. It's normally cheating on mana with, like, Bloodghast and Prize Amalgam and whatever BS like that. So getting a free land, probably not that relevant. And Standard's so big, you have so many good options for your mana base. So this card seems sort of like I don't know why you would put it in your deck, but whatever. All right, a card that I do think you should put in a lot of decks, especially green, white, and blue, white decks, and red, black decks, is Multiversal Passage. So we have, as this land enters, choose a basic land type, then you may pay 2. If you don't, it enters tapped. This land is the chosen type. So this is like super Thran Portal. This is like Fabled Passage and Shocklands had a baby, and it was this. So if I have a white 1-drop, I can play this as plains. I take 2 damage, no problem. On turn 4, if I want to cast anything, I get a land that is untapped. I don't have to worry about Starting Town. If I draw this, like, if I have 2 lands in play and I draw this on turn 5, it's unlike Starting Town, it's going to come into play untapped. I do take damage, but it's only 1 time. It's like a shock land, excuse me. So yeah, I think this card's good. I don't have too much to say about it. I don't think it is the most powerful land in Standard, but the mana is super chalked, which, you know, I don't know who to blame for that. I find it very frustrating. I really don't like the lack of symmetry in the mana base in Standard. I don't know for what purpose things are the way they are. It kind of seems like a mistake on their end or a lapse of judgment, but whatever. This card will help with that sort of gap in the structure of the mana base and standard and the lopsidedness. So this will be good for green, white, red, black, and blue, white. Urban Retreat, Bant land. Pay 2, return a tapped creature you control to its owner's hand. Put this card from your hand onto the battlefield, activate only as a sorcery. So unlike Nightclub, where Nightclub draws you a card or whatever, but you don't get to ramp. This one actually can ramp you. I can just bounce my pirate, my blue 1-drop, and then all of a sudden on turn 2 or whatever, I have 3 lands into play, right? This seems pretty powerful. It's a weird card where it's like a rampant growth where you have to play 1-drops, but like maybe that's fine. And then you also get a tri-land, so the types of things I would want to play with a land like this is maybe the Gearhulk decks, where like let's say you want to play green-white Gearhulk, and now you have Multiversal Passage and Urban Retreat to help fix some of the issues with the mana base. Multiversal Passage plays really well with Verges. Urban Retreat doesn't, but you don't have to play 4 copies of this. But you're already going to have a bunch of 1-drops, things that are like Warden of the Inner Sky, enabling cards, and then you can just play your 1-drop, bounce it, play your Urban Retreat, and then just play your Gearhulk on a turn early, on turn 3. So this one, unlike the Grixis one, actually looks pretty appealing to me. It's nice. It kind of ends up getting card advantage too if you're picking up like a Inspector or whatever, Novice Inspector type thing, or a Siren. You can even pick up a Gearhulk, right? Let's say you attack with your Gearhulk and you're like, yeah, I want to do this again. I'm going to bounce it to my hand and put this land into play. So, cool card. Looks pretty powerful. Maybe you could play it alongside the like Bounce Desert, but I think we're going too deep. I'm going to call the video here. If you stayed with me the whole time, I appreciate you. Maybe ran a little longer than I wanted it to, but I hope this is helpful for people that are interested in the Spider-Man set and want to make some sense out of it all. I'm still not sure if I'm going to do uncommons and commons and rares. I might do like a top 5 for mythics and or rares, just because I think the YouTube algorithm likes that BS, and I should probably try to appeal to our machine overlords at some point in my life. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the Spider-Man set, or don't. Either way, thank you. Peace.